Zori's scream shattered the dawn, a sound so raw, so primal, it woke the entire village. Then another scream, then another, then hundreds. Women burst from their compounds, scarves clutched to their heads, tears streaming, voices breaking. Chineke, my hair, it's gone, all of it. I'm bald. The village square filled with wailing women, smooth, bare heads gleaming in the early sun. Not a single strand remained, and the prince was coming in 3 days to choose his bride, the bride with the longest hair. But there was no hair, none, all gone. But to understand how the most beautiful haired village in Igboland became a village of bald women overnight, we must go back 2 months, back to when hair meant everything, and character meant nothing at all. Umuada village was famous across Igboland for one thing, the beautiful long hair of its women. Mothers taught daughters secret recipes, grandmothers passed down special oils. Every girl grew up knowing that hair was power, hair was beauty, hair was everything. The village had one sacred tradition. When the prince came of age, all unmarried women would present their hair. The woman with the longest, most beautiful hair would become his wife, the future queen. This tradition controlled everything. Women spent hours daily caring for their hair. They bathed it in rice water. They massaged palm oil into every strand. They mixed special herbs and prayed to the ancestors for growth. Some women never cut their hair from birth, and Zori had won the genetic lottery. Her hair grew thick, black, and strong. By age 25, it reached her ankles. When she walked, it flowed behind her like a river of silk. Men stared, women envied, children whispered, "That's the future queen." Zori knew it too. She walked through the village with her head high, her hair loose and proud. She spoke to others like they were beneath her, because in Umuada they were. Hair determined your worth, and nobody had hair like Zori. "Move aside," she would say to women in the market. "Don't let your ordinary hair touch mine." The women obeyed. What choice did they have? Zori would be queen soon, better to stay in her good graces. But Toba refused to give up. Her hair was second longest, reaching her waist. Every day she measured it against Zori's. Every day she fell short. The jealousy ate at her like a disease. "One day," Toba muttered, "one day my hair will be longer." The other women, Nkiru, Adana, Oluchi, Chiamaka, Ngozi, and Amara, competed fiercely for third place. They measured each other's hair constantly. Friendships ended over an inch of length. Sisters stopped talking because of jealousy. In Umuada, hair was everything. Marriage prospects depended on it. Respect depended on it. Your entire future depended on how long your hair grew. And then there was Feeble. Poor Feeble with her short, simple hair that barely reached her shoulders. She never bothered with oils or treatments, never spent hours styling or measuring. While other women sat by the river combing their hair, Feeble worked her farms. While they gossiped about who had the longest hair, she tended her crops and traded in distant markets. The women mocked her constantly. "Look at Feeble, she looks like a man. What woman has such short hair? No wonder no man wants her. She must be cursed." Zori was the cruelest. Whenever she passed Feeble, she would laugh loudly. "Move, peasant. Your man hair might bring me bad luck." The other women laughed too. It was safe to mock Feeble. She had no status, no beauty, no future, just short hair and dirty hands from farming. But Feeble never responded. She simply worked. While they obsessed over hair, she built wealth through hard work, trade, and smart farming. Nobody knew she was secretly the richest woman in the village. She dressed simply, lived quietly, and kept her success private. Then the announcement came. Prince Obinna would visit in 2 months to choose his bride. The village went mad. The moment the announcement came, Umuada transformed into a battleground. Every woman became an enemy. Every inch of hair became a weapon. The competition consumed everything. Zori's arrogance exploded to unbearable levels. She started charging women money for her secret hair growth recipe. Desperate women paid her good money only to receive common palm oil mixed with water. But they were too ashamed to admit they'd been scammed. She walked through the village like she already wore the crown. "Make way for your future queen," she would announce. Women had to step aside or face her wrath. One day in the market, Zori publicly humiliated Toba. She pulled out a measuring stick and forced Toba to stand still while she measured both their hair in front of everyone. "Look," Zori announced loudly, "still 3 inches shorter than mine. You will never be queen, Toba. Never." Toba's face burned with shame and rage. The crowd laughed. From that day, Toba's bitterness grew into something dark and desperate. The other women weren't much better. Nkiru and Adana, once best friends, stopped speaking after Nkiru's hair grew half an inch longer. Oluchi accused Chiamaka of cutting her hair while she slept. Ngozi and Amara got into a physical fight over hair oil at the market. The obsession became sickness. Some women stopped eating, believing food slowed hair growth. Others slept sitting up to avoid damaging their hair on pillows. Mothers neglected children. Wives ignored husbands. Everything centered on hair, hair, hair. Meanwhile, Feeble continued her quiet life. Every morning, she woke before dawn and walked to her farms. She planted yams, harvested vegetables, and traded goods in distant villages. Her hands grew rough with work, but her barns grew full with wealth. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. They were too busy measuring hair. In the market one afternoon, Feeble walked past carrying a basket of yams. Zori stood with her admirers, showing off her newly oiled hair. "Move aside, Feeble," Zori said coldly. "Don't let your peasant hair touch mine. Actually, can we even call that hair? It looks like grass." The women erupted in laughter. Cruel, mocking laughter. "Feeble will die alone," someone shouted. "What man would marry a woman with hair like that?" another added. "She's cursed. Probably why her hair won't grow." Feeble said nothing. She simply adjusted her basket and continued walking. But inside, she felt the sting. Not of their words, but of their blindness. They couldn't see past hair to the person beneath. That evening, Mama Nkemjika, the village elder, sat outside her compound watching the women parade past, each showing off their hair. She shook her head sadly. "When beauty becomes God, ugliness becomes your destiny," she whispered to herself. But nobody was listening. The ceremony was 1 month away. The competition had become war. And in Umuada, hair was the only weapon that mattered. Soon, a stranger would arrive who understood that weapon better than anyone, and she would use it to destroy them all. She arrived on a Tuesday morning, walking into Umuada like she owned the place. Ij. Beautiful, elegant, mysterious. Nobody knew where she came from, but she carried herself like royalty. Within 2 days, she had transformed an abandoned building near the market into the most beautiful salon Umuada had ever seen. Polished mirrors lined the walls, exotic oils filled clay pots, strange instruments hung from hooks. The air smelled of flowers and herbs nobody recognized. A sign hung above the door, "Ij's Salon, where hair grows miracles." The women whispered about her constantly. Who was she? Where did she learn her craft? Could she really make hair grow faster? But their hair was too precious to risk with a stranger. They had spent lifetimes growing it. One wrong treatment could ruin everything. With only 3 weeks until the ceremony, nobody dared take the chance. Nobody except Toba. Desperation makes people brave. Toba's jealousy of Zori had become unbearable. She needed an advantage, anything, to close the 3-inch gap. Late one evening, she slipped into Ije's salon. "Can you really make hair grow?" Toba asked nervously. Ije smiled, a strange smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I can make your hair so beautiful, even the queen will be jealous. The treatment was unlike anything Toba had experienced. Ige rubbed mysterious oils into her scalp while chanting words in a language Toba didn't recognize. She wrapped Toba's hair in warm leaves and made her sit still for an hour. Then she washed it with water that sparkled strangely in the lamplight. When Ige finally unwrapped Toba's hair, Toba gasped. Her hair shone like polished ebony. It felt thicker, fuller, more alive. It seemed longer, though the length hadn't actually changed. But the beauty was undeniable. The next morning, Toba walked through the village with her head high. Women stopped and stared. "Toba, your hair, what did you do? Where did you get that done? It's so beautiful." Within hours, women flooded Ije's salon. Nkiru went, then Adana, then Oluchi, Chiamaka, Ngozi, and Amara. Each emerged with gloriously beautiful hair, shining, full, magnificent. Even Zori felt a stab of jealousy. Her hair was longest, yes, but these women's hair looked healthier, more vibrant. Her pride wouldn't allow anyone to outshine her. She entered Ije's salon like a queen entering a peasant's hut. "I need the best treatment you have, something special, something worthy of a future queen." Ije's smile widened. "Of course, my queen. I have been waiting for you. I will give you my most exclusive treatment, the royal treatment. Your hair will be like liquid gold." The treatment took 3 hours. When it finished, Zori's hair was breathtaking. It gleamed in the light. It flowed like water. It was perfection beyond perfection. She paraded through the village, and women wept with envy. Zori had won. Again, only Feeble refused to visit Ije. "Even Ije cannot help your man hair," the women mocked. Feeble just smiled and returned to her farm. That night, Ije packed her belongings quietly. Tomorrow morning would bring screams. Tomorrow, justice would arrive. Dawn broke over Umuada with Zori's scream. A sound so primal, so raw, it woke every living creature in the village. Her hand had reached for her glorious hair. Instead, it touched smooth, bare skin. She ran to her mirror. The reflection showed a stranger. A woman with no hair, not one single strand. Just smooth scalp gleaming in the early morning light. "No!" The scream tore from her throat. "My hair!" She ran outside, hands clutching her bare head, tears streaming down her face. "Help! Somebody help me!" Toba woke to the screaming. She reached for her own hair. Her hand found nothing, just skin, smooth skin where thick hair had been hours ago. She touched her entire head frantically. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Her own screams joined Zori's. Within minutes, the village square filled with women, all wearing scarves, all crying, all touching their heads in disbelief. Nkiru pulled off her scarf, bald. Adana touched her scalp, bald. Oluchi, Chiamaka, Ngozi, Amara, all bald. Every single woman who visited Ije's salon, not one hair remained. The sound of their collective crying filled the air, raw grief, desperate panic, complete horror. Men rushed from their compounds, confused and frightened. Their wives, daughters, and sisters, all bald overnight. What evil was this? "The prince!" someone suddenly shouted. "Prince Obinna comes in 2 days." The wailing intensified. How could they present themselves to the prince with no hair? The tradition required hair, the longest hair, but there was no hair left. Zori collapsed in the dust, her smooth head in her hands. Just yesterday, she was the future queen, the most beautiful woman in Igboland. Now, she was nothing, bald, ugly, worthless. "I was going to be queen," she sobbed. "I was going to be queen." Toba sat beside her, also weeping. Their rivalry meant nothing now. They were both destroyed. "Where is Ije?" Mama Nkemjika demanded. "Where is this hairstylist?" The women rushed to the salon. The door hung open. Inside, everything was gone. The mirrors, the oils, the instruments, everything. The building was empty, like Ije had never existed. Only a folded paper remained on the floor. But in their panic, nobody noticed it yet. "She's gone," Adana cried. "She took our hair and disappeared." "She was a witch!" Nkiru screamed. "A witch!" The women tried everything. They poured oil on their heads, they prayed, they begged the ancestors, but nothing worked. The hair was gone, truly, completely gone. Prince Obina's messenger arrived that afternoon. The prince will arrive in 2 days for the ceremony. All unmarried women must present their hair for selection. The women looked at each other with their bald heads and cried harder. Then someone noticed Feeble walking past, heading to her farm. Her short hair still on her head, the same hair they had mocked, the only hair left in the entire village. The woman they called peasant would become their queen, because she was the only one with hair. The king himself came to investigate. An entire village of bald women was not normal. This was witchcraft, evil. Someone would pay. "Where is this Ije?" he demanded. The guards searched everywhere. Finally, they returned to the empty salon and found the paper on the floor. Mama Nkemjika unfolded it with trembling hands. The entire village gathered as she read aloud. "I am Ij, daughter of Umuada. 20 years ago I was born with no hair, a condition from birth. My mother wept, my father was shamed. You, the people of Umuada, said I was cursed. You said a hairless child brought bad luck. You said I could not live in a village that valued hair above all. On my 5th birthday, your elders, including some of you standing here now, ordered my parents to abandon me in the forest, to die. Because I had no hair, my parents obeyed. They left me alone to be eaten by wild animals. But a medicine woman found me. She raised me, taught me her craft, and I learned something you never understood. Hair grows on the head, but character grows in the heart. I returned not to kill you, but to take what you valued more than a human child's life. Your precious hair now belongs to the spirit world. It will never return. Learn to value what truly matters. Iye, the hairless child you left to die." Silence. Heavy, crushing silence. The king's face went pale. He remembered. He had given that order. A hairless baby was bad luck. They couldn't allow it, so they sent the child to die. The women looked at each other with horror. They had worshipped hair so much, they had condemned a baby to death for not having it. Zori fell to her knees. "We did this to ourselves," she whispered. "Our vanity, our pride, we destroyed ourselves." Toba covered her face. "I wasted my whole life jealous over hair, just hair." The other women wept, not for their lost hair now, but for their lost humanity. Prince Obina arrived the next day. He saw the bald women and heard the story. According to tradition, he had to marry the woman with the longest hair. Only Feeble had hair. The prince met her in the village square. She stood simply, wearing her farm clothes, her short hair neat but plain. "You are Feeble?" he asked. "Yes, my prince." He studied her, not her hair, but her eyes. He saw kindness there, wisdom, strength. "Tell me about yourself." She told him about her farms, her trade, her quiet life of hard work. She spoke with intelligence and humility. No pride, no arrogance, just truth. Prince Obina smiled. "You will be my wife, not because of your hair, but because of your character." The wedding happened 1 week later. simple but beautiful. Feeble became Queen Feeble of Umuada. Zori, who had dreamed of that crown, now had to bow to the woman she had mocked. But something had changed in Zori. Humility had replaced pride. She approached Feeble privately. "I am sorry, my queen, for everything." Queen Feeble smiled gently. "We all learn our lessons differently. You learned yours. Now help me teach others." Zori became the queen's closest advisor. The proud woman transformed into a humble servant of the people. Over the months, some hair grew back naturally on the women's heads, but slowly, never like before, a constant reminder of what pride had cost them. The village created a new tradition. They judged people by character, not appearance. They taught children that beauty fades, but kindness lasts forever. Under Queen Feeble's rule, Umuada prospered. Not because of beautiful hair, but because of beautiful hearts. And so Umuada learned what they should have known all along. What you treasure most can become your greatest curse. Zori, Toba, and all the women valued hair above wisdom, beauty above character, appearance above humanity. In their obsession, they mocked the humble and worshipped the proud. They abandoned a hairless child to death, and she returned to take their most prized possession. But Feeble became queen not despite her short hair, but because she never let hair define her worth. The ancestors teach us, the poison you value more than human life will become the poison you drink yourself. Pride in beauty leads to shame in ugliness. Humility in character leads to glory in life. The women who laughed at Feeble spent the rest of their lives bowing to her as their queen. For in the end, what grows on your head matters far less than what grows in your heart. Treasure character over appearance. Value kindness over beauty. Honor humanity over vanity. Because the mirror shows what is on your head, but life reveals what is in your heart. And that, my children, is the lesson of Umuada, the village where every woman lost her hair, but one humble woman gained a kingdom. When you mock others for what they lack, you prepare your own downfall. When you value the temporary over the permanent, you lose both. But when you build your life on character, wisdom, and kindness, no curse can touch you, no jealousy can harm you, and no pride can destroy you. The women of Umuada wore their bald heads as badges of their shame and their learning, and they taught their daughters, beauty is a gift, but character is a choice. Choose wisely,